Hey, what's up guys? Trey with Tankers Outdoors coming at you with another video. Today we're going to be setting up a bass boat fully. We're going to be running through mounting a new jack plate on it, mounting the transducer, wiring everything up, making a new base plate for the console, and mounting all the graphs. Now what we're working with here today is a Bass Cat Sabre. It's an 18-foot boat. I already have the cowl off of the motor and a ring attached to the top that I purchased for the jack plate. But I'm not doing the jack plate first, so we got to tackle the first order of business. So guys, the first order of business that I'm tackling is right here. I had an old 5-inch graph that was mounted right in this location. As you can see, the giant hole is going to be an issue because I'm putting a 10-inch graph on this unit. So what I've done right here on this piece of paper is just sketched out a little bit of lines that I can cut to get to size. Then I'm going to go in with the ruler and make it more true. So for the sake of the video, I'm just gonna take this ruler and mark out a couple dimensions, and then I'll trim it up and show you what it's gonna look like. And then that is going to be transferred over to a plastic board that I've purchased. Okay guys, so this took some trial and error. This is what I've come up with. It's actually a piece of paper folded in half. I had to center it, figure out where my straight lines were going to go up, and I used this 90 degree to get this squared off here at the corners. Then I plotted out on the one side where the corner is, where it comes up. You can see, I'll point it out here, and then I marked as well on the paper right there with this corner. So basically what I did, off the bottom, I raised the paper a 1/4 inch tall. Off each sides, I offset it 1/2 inch, and then from each corner, I measured a 1/4 inch. And so I drew parallel lines by measuring twice, and used the 7/16 and basically I just put it on there and drew a radius. So now that it's folded in half perfectly on those lines, I can cut it out on one side and it'll be symmetrical. Okay, so putting it up there, attempt 1 did not work very well. So back to the drawing board.
Connect this, follow this radius down, and connect here to here on both ends. Just kind of eyeball it, sand it, perfect once here.
Okay, something like that. What even with that one?
And just follow the top one.
Alright. And now the difficult part, remove this and
Yeah, just remove it one piece now.
cut it.
Top to the end. Start from the bottom. Since it's overlapped, as you peel it up, it'll pull the next one. Just get the whole side and then go side to side. Just grab it here. Go straight across.
So now,
Now where's the plastic?
plastic. How are we doing the cardboard?
You just stick this right on the plastic. Do it like up here. We'll see how it lines up. I'm gonna go through and sand it a little more precision.
It looks pretty center now, so this comes out a lot more than this, which is almost like a flush to this side like that.
Does this gap look even here? Yeah.
Yeah, it feels even.
So this one.
Yeah.
See how it looks.
So I'm lining this up, and the design is pretty close. So definitely the help and assistance was a help. We're just gonna sand this down the rest of the way and get it properly fitted and get on the next part.
So now that I've enlisted some help to make this, which will be mounted on the console, I've taken the liberty of using this wire threader, which I've been running through the side of the boat to get strings inside so that I can pull wires through that will eventually be placed in there. Now the first step I'm going to be doing is finishing that up and then getting a power wire connected and getting a console graph connected. Now, the reason I'm doing it in this order is because I have to get the map on there to fish a tournament, and then I will be coming back and finishing up the rest of it with transducers and such. So let's do that first. So here I've got the flashlight, and this is at the console of the boat, and I can just show you a bit what I'm talking about. So There's an access port, which is right underneath the console, and that goes in there. I've got the string hanging out, as you see here. And basically, maybe I could find it. All right, I think what I'm gonna do is find it from the other side. All right, so this is a better representation from the inside. There's little tubes that run inside. You're gonna have to peek your head in. This is where the string is going through, and I missed the middle tube you can see there, and then coming up further towards the front, I go back into the third tube. So let me just show you those tubes with the light here. This is inside of the rod box where you come from there. So you come in from underneath there, and there's tubes that I was showing you, and they come all along here and go up, and there's a final tube that comes out, and these lines come up where you can remove the plate on here and feed them out. And so what I'm going to do for the one up here is drill probably holes through that plate and run the wires across into the graph that will be up here. Now I'll be doing that later, because the first one I'm putting in is at the console, like I said again, just to get a map in for this tournament. So what I'm actually going to do now is run strings through the back compartment here. This is the battery box, what it looks like in my boat. I'm going to be hooking up to that battery for now. It goes back and through and around towards the console, because we're at the battery now here. So you have to run it to the back corner and then feed it around through the side, which will go around there and then back through there, and I'll come up the hole, which is up there by the console. And just after that, I'm all done. I got strings running from there under there and out to the front. So now there's two sets, one that goes from the back to there and one that goes from there to the front, and they both have 3 strings apiece, which will be plenty for what I need now and maybe for upgrades. So guys, now that I have the strings through the boat, it's time to start wiring. So I'm going to get that power wire, feed it through, and then we'll get on to mounting that fish finder. So a quick update, did run power wires. What we had laying around was 16 gauge, which if you go on Garmin's website, that is enough for this is definitely under 15 feet, so it will be enough to power the unit, but I might go back later and put in a bigger wire with a fuse box right up at the console to put in more accessories. But these on here will go on the battery, then on the Garmin unit, just connected with butt connectors right up here. Gotta heat shrink that, but this should be enough wire to keep the power running good to the unit. So we'll get that, run it. Right now we're working the console thing. The plan, and I'll show you. The plan is to put screwable rivets into the fiberglass and then have holes in the plastic piece, so you can just basically line it up and screw it in and do it a million times without damaging the boat. So we're just gonna finish that up and then I'll show you what that looks like.
See if that fits.
We just mapped out the plate here. Perfect. Got the hole. So this will fit all the cables through here. And what he's done is he's mapped out where the ram mount's gonna go as well. And that will sit on there. And there's a little notch right under here that all the wires can run out.
You can go right in the middle so you can center it perfect. Okay. I'll do the top one. You gotta go up like a quarter inch. Somewhere in there. You can really, you want to step back a little bit and really check the bottom, make sure it's level, or better perspective.
Yeah, that still looks pretty good.
And the washer, yeah. If you want to get an inch, there's plenty of room. I'd say so. So get an inch long. Just bolt it right up there. You know, now that we're doing that, because I was worried about this thickness here, I'm gonna take the steering wheel off and I'll put another one right there. Okay, so. And then while we're at it, we can fix this to be upright or just the motor straight. I don't know what happened. So then get washers. Get like decent sized washers, like some pretty wide ones. Yeah. I mean, how wide do you think I can fit? Like an inch across? No, I wouldn't go an inch across. If they're like half inch, 3/4 inch, that'll be fine. Yeah, then we'll put one more here, so get 6. Okay.
Little update for you guys. We took the steering wheel off so we could get a 6-hole mounted here. And now we're going to mount this plate with the ram mount attached to it and get the power hooked up to the side connected to the unit. Okay, so now that we've drilled out the holes, got the plate on here all made, now I've just bolted through these 4. There's actually going to be 6, but I messed up. I need to just go to the store and get some more. This is temporary because I said we're coming back to this after the tournament. These will all be countersunk in here, and then this I'm going to have to run more wires through. But this is what it's looking like now in terms of the setup. Now I can basically take the power cord here, attach the ram mount, and have the device on here for this tournament, come back, finish up with the countersinking, get all the rest of the wires, and then we'll show you the second. Okay guys, so now we've mounted the final piece on here. Just got the bolts into the holes that I showed you we already drilled. And I put the ram mount and the graph on, and it is now acquired GPS signal, good old Wisconsin. So for right now, that's where I'm going to stop our install. And so now we'll be going to the next part when I come back. Okay guys, so now I'm back from the trip.
Sonar did held up nicely on the console, but now we gotta move to the next part, which is getting this motor off and getting the new jack plate on. So what I've got here is the cherry picker, and Bob's machine, who is the jack plate I got, actually sells loops that go right in the top of the motor. There's a couple different options depending on which motor you have. This one just threads right in the top. So the general plan here, just gonna hoist it up, remove the bolts, and install the new jack plate and put some marine grade silicone so that it doesn't leak through. So let's get that off now.
Alright, so all of them are finger loose. Just gonna slowly do them. So I just need to position slow. It's catching. Okay. A little bit more room. And she's off, hanging on her own accord. Just putting the bolts like this in order, top and bottom. So this one's the top, put it more towards the front of the boat, vice versa. So let's see how far backwards we can move this motor. Get some space. Definitely some straps. See here, this is how far I can get the motor back. I'm sure there's a little more slack in the hose, but that should be enough to get that old jack plate off and the new one in. So Bass Cat actually has 6 bolts on their jack plate, and they are also using 19mm on both sides. So it's going to be fairly easy. Okay, so I did a little figuring out. This jack plate will kind of be 2-person, since one person will need to be inside the boat and the other outside. So what I was figuring, with that power drill on these 2 bottom ones, I can drill from the outside here, and on these top 2 ones, I'm gonna have to, it's either there and there, I'm gonna have to drill from the inside. And this, you're gonna have to somehow fit the wrench in there and drill from the top, or something of that nature. But let me show you. Get into the inside. Now you can actually see, well, if you could see, you can actually see there's a 2 on the bottom where the jack plate goes in the transom, and the top 2 will be accessible by the drill, and the bottom left one will be, but the bottom right one, the battery's in the way. It'll just be easier to grab with that other wrench instead of trying to fit the drill inside. The first one I was able to get it unbolted myself. I put the crescent wrench there and actually used the hand tool to crank that off. I was able to get that off. I used this cranking tool here and the crescent wrench underneath here to get the top off, but I am going to need to wait for a partner to do the rest of the jack plate, and then I should be able to put the new one on, bolt it up, and silicone it. It's coming off. Got it?
We just grab another one and set it on here and make sure all 6 bolts line up.
It should. It's made for it.
Off as you can, the old silicone.
Yeah. It's
And then
kind
put
of
a nice
crumbling.
big old bead.
Yeah, this
around
one needs to be hammered in a little from that side. I think those are pretty much
Yeah, that's a regular old bolt.
interesting. Would it be worth getting a different bolt there then?
I don't know if you think you could put it in later, but I wouldn't leave the motor hanging here any longer than you have to.
No, I really couldn't put in much later, but potentially I could just quick run to the store and get it.
Won't trouble, because the plate's gonna be there.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know, I don't really want to leave it like that though. After a little bit of pounding, we got the jack plate off. Now I'm just gonna try to wipe off some of this grime and get the extra silicone off. And I'll be ready to put the new one on. Wiped it down a little bit. Looks like I'll be using this plastic putty knife to scrape off the old silicone and then some alcohol wipes to prep it. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then we'll get this thing on there. Alright, so now I'm putting the silicone beads around. This is to make sure that no water comes through.
Got it? I can't even see the holes. Where's the nuts? Let's just get them started so it doesn't fall off. Get the one right above there, because that one's definitely started. That's good. Can you get close? But it's angled a little bit.
That's what I was doing.
There's a universal joint in there that allows us to go a little crooked.
So it took a little longer to muscle this thing on. As you could see, we were kind of fighting with it and figuring out how we get those bolts through, but it is on and secure now. One thing, a little surprising, there seemed to be some blue paint off this thing, probably from just the heat of driving in the bolts, probably melted some paint. I guess the nice thing is, even though it would chip a little bit of paint on the inside where we're screwing it down, this is aluminum, so it's not like it's gonna rust out. So we're gonna take a quick break and then figure out how to get the motor onto this jack plate. Should just be those 4 bolts, but as you see, it should be those 4 bolts, but as you see, there is a lot of holes to choose from, and only 6 of them on the back of this mounting plate. So guys, after we installed the jack plate, we went ahead and put the motor and just put those 4 bolts. It was the same holes, and it lined up perfectly in the holes on this jack plate. Really no issues with fitment other than just trying to get the parts positioned in the correct way to actually push them through the holes that were there. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with this plate so far. I put the cover back on the motor. It's all off of the stand. So now that we've done that, I've got the boat back in position from where it was chalked before. So when I had that level on here, like before, it is now in that same position. And if I grab the level, which is down here, have to hold this plate up. So when I grab the level, and I have this plate here, which is from Transducer Shield and Sabre, which I'm going to be using to mount my thing. You press it right up against the hull, and it fits real snugly in there. Like, there's no room for adjustment. I just hold it in position, show you, line this up. That is level. So, and I did measure that before just to show you, but I think it's amazing that this thing, for my boat, on this separate part that I bought, that this thing here, when I put it on there, it gets the transducer perfectly level for when the boat is under movement and in forward. That this thing will sit the transducer perfectly level without me having to do any measurements, make any adjustments whatsoever. That's pretty incredible. Putting this up, the directions say we're gonna have to take a little knife or something and cut off these 2 little grooves here. And then these screw holes will go into these here, which come off. And then that will be screwed back on, put through here. We'll have to route the wire through which way I'm going to do it. I don't quite know yet, and it will come out either the front probably or this guy right here. So before we can get those holes drilled, as you can see there, it is clamped on where it needs to go. But the drill is not going to fit into that location to drill those 2 holes. So what we're going to do is get a 90-degree drill, and that will fit in so you can punch that hole and that hole, and then get those bolts through and get this transducer eventually put on to here. So after that, we're gonna figure out a way to remove this old puck that I have down inside of there. So I have to figure out how to get that out some way, and I'm gonna work on getting that out and figuring out what we're doing on that off camera, as well as that will give time to get this drill for this step. Well guys, we've got the 90-degree drill. So now we're gonna prep our 2 holes. double check this measurement, make sure we're good. Ooh, we've got it a little out of drill. That's not good. Uh-oh. Have that hole a little off. See if we can not like hold that up there. Nice, it's slipping down. Alright, Josh.
Yeah, what can I do for you,
Good
sir?
job. Just hold it right there.
I can try. How long do you want me to get in here?
Alright, that's looking much better. That's the full width. That's okay that you blocked the camera. They get the idea of what drilling is, I hope. Alright, still level. Those holes will be good. I just need to bring that one in a little more drilled.
Do you need me to hold it or?
It should be good. I think this hole is a little, needs like a little more drilling, just to like loosen it out a little. Let's see if that's still level. Looks like it might need to be tilted up here. See if we can't find that mallet. Kind of a tight fit. Let's measure that
Jeez,
up.
everything is dying on me today. My Apple Watch, my phone. Great Scott.
Looks to be a little off from what we started, by a little bit. So I'm wondering in what areas the cause that. It seems like this side is actually like a little tighter up against there, but don't know if there's much I can do at this point. Because that was more level. I think I just need to put an extra amount of pressure just like down on this back one here. Just stick it through there. Okay.
She's getting slow.
Maybe that will help. So that looks like it lines up a little better now. There we go. Alright, now with it like that, let's check our level. And a lot better. Okay. Alright, now we got the metal shavings out. Good. And I should be able to bolt it up just like that. Okay guys, so we just got this bolted up here. You can see there's a little finagling with the height just because this jack plate is so thick. It's like, you know, just hard with the 90-degree drill to get a straight in hole from where it's going. But I was measuring this up with the level again, and it is quite level. Like, this will definitely read good images, and it is very, very close to where it's going to be sitting in the water, which can kind of vary just slightly with speed anyways, but this is pretty dang flush. Was very impressed because I did all these measurements before going into this. If you just had your boat and stuck this on there up against the transom, how close it actually is with how level the transducer is going. So props to this company for making such a great product. We're working on, before we put that puck in, is taking this old one out. So what I did for that was use this pry bar and just stuck it basically where the puck was and against there, and lifted up and lifted a little couple pieces of that old epoxy up from there. So now what I'm trying to do is basically just scrape up the rest of that old epoxy so I can just have a nice clean surface down there. And I might actually put the new puck in a slightly different location just so I can get the best mounting possible, so there's no interference when I lay the new epoxy. So that's what I'm working on here. So the first thing they do when they tell you to mount the transducer onto the transducer shield and saver is to trim off these two little mounting tabs. So that's what I'm going to do first. Let's see if we can do this one. Okay, got that first one off. Coming on this side. Get that a little lower. Got that second one off. Take these two pieces on that thing off. So we'll get the Phillips. This one, I believe we are mounting it here. Yep. Yep, that would make sense. So this is the screws they gave us with the transducer, I believe. I have a lot of boxes, so I can't quite remember where each part was from. Take two, put them on the front one. These are actually Phillips too, so I'm going to use that to tighten. Should have been using it the whole time. It's kind of slipping. So we don't want this falling off ever. You can see that is very secure. Alright, so I think they said to put the back in first and then the front. We got to figure out how we're routing the cables, but essentially be something like that. And then we don't want the cable through there. How should we do this? So yeah, you slide the back in for the transducer, and the cable can actually go on top of those screws we just put in and then feed out the side here. So I put a screw just to start it so I didn't have to hold it. And I'll put the rest in. Now they're all tightened down. You can see I'm trying to wobble everything. Nothing's moving. That transducer is in place, and now the cable is ready to be routed up into the boat. Alright guys, so I went about sanding down that old epoxy that was on there. I do have the old puck out, is just sitting here on the side. I will have to run the wire back through to get it fully out. And I've sanded a little bit of area behind where that puck was, and that is where I'm going to put the new one. So I've sanded it. I've just got to wipe it down with the alcohol wipe and get that area nice and clean. Then you take the included piece of foam. I believe you don't use the center. And put it I looked underneath, it looks pretty flat down there, so hopefully I don't have any issues with installing it, otherwise that would suck. But it seems to be on a pretty flat area in the bottom, and it's right next to the other one. So after we sanded and wiped and put that ring down there, we have to lightly sand the bottom of the transducer. This is kind of scary, but we're just gonna do it so that it will stick. And that's looking a little scuffed up to me. Fresh alcohol pad wipe. Clean that up nicely. So what we're going to do next, just set that down for a second. We're getting marine epoxy here for the next step, and there's two parts. You got to mix them, make sure that they're completely mixed, and then what we're going to do is once we have that mixed, put about 1/3 of that ring that was just in there filled with this epoxy. For two generally same lines, and mix them up with this. Alright. We got the 1/3 full of epoxy. Let's grab that transducer and twist it in. be sitting pretty good at its own. And I have a weight, just a little cylindrical 2.5 pound weight that I got out of some dumbbells. It should hopefully not be too heavy and just hold that right in place where it is. Seems to be setting good. I say I've never done particularly this, so hopefully that piece of that point where the fiberglass is good, and the cure should go all right. I'm just hopefully wondering if I get a good signal. I'm hoping I do though. I think this will be fine. Okay, so it's been almost 24 hours. We have this pretty well seated down there, mostly cured. Now is the next step. So we have that wire to run through, the transducer wire back here to run through, jack plate wire, a jack plate transducer wire, and then we're also going to have to grab the jack plate wire that goes to the front and mount this wiring bracket in here and bring all those up to the front. And that will be the next step here. So first, before I do that, I did test out the jack plate, just kind of loosely wired everything to rise it up, because there's the sticker on there and we are using the transducer one because I have a gauge that will tell me exactly how high this thing is without looking at it. So I'm just gonna mount that quickly, no need to show you, it's 2 screws and a little bit of wiping. Okay guys, so we got all the wires together, we're prepping to pull them through, and we're starting to try the string that I already had in there, but it broke, so I'm like left with this little string. And I have all like the wires in this little duct tape bundle, but I went ahead and I actually just purchased my own fish tape instead of borrowing that one. It's $20 for a 50-foot fish tape. It honestly worth it enough for this project. Also reading up on some forums, we noticed that this vent is off. They were saying that it creates a nice easy straight line to the console, and that's what I just tried to remove the old transducer wire that I spent 3 hours trying to get out, and I just got it out in like a minute. So hopefully we could take this and thread from up there down this line into the vent, and then with these wires, which I have from there up to here, can just pull from the corner straight through, and hopefully that will get the wires up to the console that I need. Also gone ahead and thought about this, and I'm thinking of running 8-gauge wire all the way up to the console area with a power connector with fuses, so that way any future electronics or even the graph that's up there will have basically a shorter distance to get that power from the battery, and it will be super easy to hook up any lights and stuff that I have right there at the console instead of having to feed these wires through every time. So it's going to be nice. So we got the fish tape too. We got this big bundle of taped up stuff taped to it. Not pulling out real easy. So we're just going to basically feed this in and start pulling. Now I'm just going to pull up the rest of the slack basically so that these wires are up there once I take them off the fish tape. And then we're going to move on to hooking up stuff and securing the wires down. Okay, so now I've ran the wires up. I went ahead and plugged a few in just to the back of here, and it was reading the signal for both transducers.
but I can't test it until it's in the water. And I just have the other 2 wires sitting up there that was for the jack plate transducer and then also the switching. And what I've decided to do is I've actually gone, I have to wait for it now for a while, for the bobs. It's a dual steering wheel switches, so I'm going to install that just over there so I can have the trim and the jack plate lift all on the steering wheel. And I've gone ahead and I've got a couple things. That's not related, that's for a different project. But this here is going to be a battery supply panel. I'm running up this 8-gauge wire that I've just ordered. That's going to run right up to the console. I'll have that supplying power right off of there, which I can run to the front, run the gauges off of, install some more lighting opportunities in the future on this thing, and maybe even a stereo at some point. And one thing that was really helpful was just taking out this vent here to just get in here. That's been a big help. And you know, the fish tape was kind of a must. The string was not really doing it, so just needed something with a little more rigidity. I gotta go pick up a bunch of wire connectors for this so I can get everything all in order and hook it all up. So we've waited a few days to get some more stuff, and this is one thing I got, is some wire loom, and this is basically how I'm going to have this looking here. This is loomed up to that transducer that we put in, and these wires go into here with a zip tie there, and there will be a few bolts with little hangers for this transducer wire, so that will be nice and clean. So the next step we're going to do was drill this hole here. This just did this off camera, and that will be fitting this gauge for the jack plate, which I'm going to vacuum up, put in there right now. Had to run and get some more wire, and the plan is with the jack plate switch to actually use, and it came now, to use a steering wheel switch. So again, there's some wires that come with it here to hook to the normal trim. We're gonna run all these wires way up to the front. Where did I even put it? Oh boy. Way up to the front, and I'm gonna have this switch that they gave hooked in, so that will control the jack plate all the way from the front. I got the wire in through here. I'm going to have to run some power cables, the network cable, and then those 3 wires up here for the switch. And then that will get power up here for the other unit, and I'll also be able to plug it in to take this out. I'll just do that off camera. And then we'll put this RAM mount on here some fashion. We'll have to figure out what we're doing with that, and then get that all plugged in. So this here is the gauge you're gonna put in there. Just putting some extra wires on there. Gonna heat shrink that now. Flame down. Just push these wires right through. And this we can hook up with that gauge. It's a nice 2-inch hole, fits nicely in there.
Just have to look, see. Yeah, pretty slick if you ask me. Looks like a nice new fancy gauge. So I'll just go on the back side, get those nuts on there, and then once I'm ready to wire, it will be all good to go. Alright, so what I found under the console for getting the trim all together before sending those wires up there is these three, the red, blue, and green. I believe those are going to be the right trim ones. So I'm going to cut them, loop them together, and see if these are the right ones. If they're not, I have to just end up reattaching them, which is no problem. But before taking out the whole handle assembly, it's a good guess, because that would be a pain. Alright, so now we've got them where those two wires are connected, and then I'm going to put the control wires we're given into this and then test that the trim works. So we got those three in there now. We're going to test it out. Not really sure if these are the right ones, but it's a very educated guess. So let's see here. You guys will have to listen for the sound. Actually, you know what? I'll do it. Up, down, it works. See, sometimes you just get lucky and then you don't have to take the whole handle assembly off. Just a note there, it says the green on the top, red in the middle, and blue on the bottom. Alright, so these are the jack plate wires. I will do that connector to there when I'm ready, just like we did the trim. So I did that off camera, and then what I've done is just connected the wire that I got to that off camera and got everything ready to pull up to the front. So with those wires already, we have the jack plate wire, two power wires, and a network wire. Pull that up to the front now and then hook that up. Okay guys, so now I've pulled all the wires that we were gonna get up here. We got the power and the network and the switch wire here. So I've went ahead and plugged the power in, and we're gonna test that right now. We'll do down on the motor, right, up on the motor, good. So that works there, which is real great. And then we should be able to tie in that for the steering wheel thing. We'll do later, but first we have to get all the rest of the connections hooked up, which I will do, and then I'll show you what I've got for the power box. Okay guys, so I've screwed down the box here, just under there, and what I've done is hooked up all the wires and done their connections. So I have this one over here marked trim tabs, and that was for that gauge. So they'll put the positive there and the negative there, and then obviously depth sounder is the fish finder up front. I put that with a 20 amp fuse, which was the biggest one because it already has a fuse, and then just a 5 amp fuse because that's just a gauge. And there it is. So all I have to do is just plug this in on the battery side and it should be working. Plug in the power real quickly. I'm just gonna have to find a solution. I unplugged this below here so I could leave it plugged in, but that would remain on just because it was, you know, on power, but didn't have a switch. And we want to find a way where the key can switch on the gauges. So I need to figure out how I'm going to wire it real quick, and I'll come back right now with the solution. But now I got to figure out how when I turn the key, then the gauge will come on.
This isn't designed for these little screws. Easy when you got the right tools, huh?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, it looks like these are the 3 that it was referring to. I don't know if you can just use those same ones that were on there.
Measuring calipers.
I had them right up there at the front.
I mean, right there. So that's 3/8.
What if you didn't do those connectors?
Well, even that. If I grab on this lightly, there's 1/2 inch. So you need a 3/8. If I clamp down hard like that, that's 3/8. So definitely gonna need 3/8.
Yeah. Alright. Should we stick the wires through now or just do this?
I'll just take one of these screws out and see what it looks like.
Alright.
Threads might be different thread pitch.
True.
I can't see with my...
Oh well.
I put this on, I'm just gonna make sure that there's clearance.
Got the wires on there now. Just kind of hard because these 3/8 holes are actually a little on the small side, but listen for it. Up, down, up, down. It's working. Just gonna heat shrink that and then put it back on. We're in the front of the boat now. As you can see, I've drilled holes and screwed down this ram mount. So let's get that on there and test out if the fish finder works. We've done most of the work already, so when we hook it up, it should be functioning properly. Plugged it in, powered it on, connected everything, and boom, it is on. Right there is the setup. United States for me. English. And no store demonstration. Okay. This is a power boat. Minimum safe depth, probably 3 foot. Don't need that on. Yeah, so just the normal setup stuff. Show you network and power. That's all we need up here. The transducer is plugged in, so you can use the network. Just zip tie it to the back of the ram mount, and I'm gonna put down some cable ties and run that from there. Nice and clean. So that is it for this guy. We'll just have to finish up putting the steering wheel on, and then we will be all done with this project. Okay guys, so we're under the console now, and I found that this purple wire is switched with the key. I can test that. Just give me a sec here. So I've got that in there. Key's off. Turn the key on. Lights up. So that's how I know I'm gonna plug it in this purple wire here. Matter too much how much power it gets, so it'll be fine just to hook this particularly up to that. Alright, just to test it real quick. There's the gauge. Key is off. Turn the key on. Now it's on. Perfect.